people assume that Israel was very good at propaganda and making people kind of fall in line with the things that they believe, when in reality, Israel has sucked at that horribly. It's just the founding of Israel was an inspiring story. It like legitimately was. It was Cold War time. The Soviet Union was backing a lot of the Arab states, eventually, and people think that we backed Israel from the beginning. We didn't. It was like 73 is when we really started backing Israel. But like they fought wars against all of these surrounding Arab states. In the beginning of Israel, a lot of the immigrants there were Europeans. Now later on, it was a lot more Middle Easterners. So we look at them, so they kind of look like us. They have a similar value system. They're alone in the Middle East fighting all these other states. We just kind of like them because of that reason. And then as time has gone on, older generations still kind of harbor that goodwill towards Israel, but it is not a thing that Israel worked at explicitly. And now we're in this world where everybody's saying like Israel did propaganda in the past, but they're not. They suck at propaganda. If you look at the recent war, the best propaganda that's been produced for Israel was made by Hamas. It was that girl, I think, in the back of the truck. That was the most powerful piece of media that was made. Israel created like this whole, I think, hour and a half video about October 7th that they didn't even show the public. Only Knesset members and some people that are allowed into a room can watch it. You can't copy it or take it anywhere. So as a result of this, Palestinians have learned the language of the West really well, and a lot of their propaganda systems, states like Qatar that fund a lot of like foreign education initiatives and stuff, people have done a really good job at communicating their plight to the people in the West, and especially younger people through platforms like TikTok and everything else. So there's a lot of sympathy there. It looks like Israel is conducting itself like a madman. Israel's like, we're fighting against the whole Middle East, but everybody else today looks and is like, well, it doesn't really look like that. It kind of looks like you're just fighting against the Palestinians and maybe Iran. So as a result of that, Israel looks indefensible. People say that Zionism and Judaism is different, but the reality is like 90% of Jews are in favor of Israel existing as like a Jewish protected state. So Israel just hasn't done itself any favors. They've done really well at winning like the ground war and the immediate regional war and stuff, but they can't speak the language of the West at all, and they've utterly failed. And I think as time goes on and the older generations die off, we'll probably start to lean away from Israel unless they relearn how to speak, I guess, our language.
What do you think about AIPAC? An undue amount of money, undue influence?
The problem when it comes to like lobbying stuff, I have really unpopular takes on this. I think lobbying is way, way, way less influential than a lot of people say that it is. Generally, when people are giving money to politicians, it's people that they already support that they think are probably going to win anyway. It's like people look at like AIPAC's donation success rate as like 96% elected, and in their mind they think, holy, you're going into all of these 50-50 elections or worse and tossing them or like flipping the coin in favor. And it's like, no, they just back a lot of establishment people that already support Israel in general. I don't think AIPAC has like undue influence. If it did, I think that the media environment around Israel would have looked a lot different because there's a lot of crazy stuff reported about Israel. And there has continued to be throughout the entire war. I think that the support for Israel just comes from the fact that just talk to any old person in the U.S. and they love Israel. They all just do. But the younger people definitely don't. And I feel like younger people are propagandized too easier than older people to some extent, depending on, I guess, what platforms they're on. So